So thanks to everyone that watched my hands-on with the Huawei Mate X-T. I did have it over 2 different sessions. There's been a lot of questions, and this video aims to answer those. So we know that the phone is a trifold, but a lot of people did ask, why am I calling it a trifold when it only folds twice, right? It's the same screen that folds twice, so it has the 2 creases in it. Well, if you look at the back of it, it is made up of 3 sections. So this is why it's trifold. This is my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. This is a bifold foldable because it just has the 2 sides to it, the 2 different halves to it. So that is why there. Now the creases I pointed out in that video, it looks even better than what we have with a Samsung Galaxy Z6. It's pretty impressive. And when the Huawei Mate X-T is all folded up, with its 3 different pieces, it is impressive that it's only 0.7 millimeters thicker than, yes, you guessed it, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. So it's pretty impressive. They also managed to fit in a 5,600 milliamp hour battery with the 66 watt charging, which is superior, of course, to Samsung 2 there. Now that battery, it's a silicon carbon battery. It's very thin. That's how they managed to make the device so thin there. And there were a lot of questions about the battery life. People were saying that, when you use it in the full tablet state, which is 10.2 inches, that your battery life is not going to be great, right? Well, I did get a gauge of that I didn't unfortunately cover in that first video, is because when I got it first, it had 99% battery. I'd used it for 45 minutes, mostly in the full tablet state, and the battery dropped down then to 85%. So 14% loss, and I've worked out that you're looking around 4 to 5 hours if you're just going to be using the whole screen in all its glory. And yes, compared to say a tablet like this, that's not an amazing battery life. But if you use just the outer screen, or you're going to use it as the 7.9 inch bifold style, just how like the normal foldables like now, a square screen, then the battery life would be quite a bit better. You'd be looking at another additional couple of hours of on-screen time. So it depends on what you're after, the use of it. So the other questions were still with the screen, that it's going to be very easy to damage, right? Yes and no, because the screen, yes, on the very edge where I showed you where it folded over, is susceptible, but you have the case to protect it. But that also leaves the outer portion, which isn't a hard glass covered screen part of it, that is a little bit susceptible to damage still. Now I had and have reviewed the Mate XS and the Mate XS2. That's an outer fold, a bifold, and that screen is always on the outside. Now it's just common sense that you don't put the phone in your pocket with keys, with coins, to try and avoid any damage. And when you're going to be using the phone and you have it just in the normal phone state, most of the time, like a foldable or any phone, for example, like this Pura 70 Ultra, you're going to have it camera down, screen up. So you're not really going to be damaging it unless you were to drop something on it. Now what I often do and did with that outer fold style with the Mate XS2 is use this, a pouch, okay? So simply slot it into that, then in my pocket, and after 6 months, how was the phone? Did I end up damaging it? No, I didn't, but there were some very fine scratches on that outer protective screen of the screen. So that's one thing that we are going to have to bear in mind that could, of course, happen there. The other common question was, what do those hinges feel like? And they feel very good. They have a nice resistance to them. They feel nice and tight. They don't feel loose and floppy when you open it up. It looks like it's difficult to open. There is a bit of a learning curve. So when you first get it, you open it up like a standard bifold, and then you realize you have to then pull out the other side to it. And it will take a day. And even after my 2 different sessions I had with it, I was fine with it, that I could open it up and it really was not an issue. And those hinges have a nice resistance to it. The whole build quality it's rigid feeling, it's solid. It feels like quality. Yes, it's 298 grams, which it's a modest kind of weight, but I don't think it's bad considering it's a trifold. So that's okay. Another question was, how on earth did I get it? Well, let's just say I have a very good friend from China. They came just off a flight, so I met up with them and I managed to get some time on with it. That's how I got the hands-on and there's 2 different sessions with the Mate XT. But right now, yes, very difficult to buy. It's had now about almost 7 million pre-orders, so there's a lot of people interested in this phone. However, it's only just started to ship out now, very limited quantities first, and a lot of people are buying them or getting hold of them through the pre-order system that got lucky that they could basically get it and then resell them or sell them to shops and stores or resell them themselves. And this is why you're seeing some just outrageous prices. We're looking at 6,000 euros, and I even saw up to 9,000 that one website was asking for, which is just insanity. Like, no one's going to pay that. And even me as a tech site with almost 500,000 subscribers, I cannot justify a purchase like that. And I have to sell a kidney or something in order to get one. It's just not worth it. Now, the price in China, if you convert it, it should be around 2,600 euros, I believe, about that mark. And when it does come out globally, which according to some sources, it's going to be coming out to the global markets in the first quarter of 2025. So I would play it safe, wait, get yourself the global version, because the price will be still super expensive. It's early tech, it's the first gen of a Trifold. Yes, very expensive, but you get then the global ROM. The other frequent question was, why is there Google on there? How did you get Google on there? So there are workarounds, and I covered that more a little bit in my review of this, which is the Huawei Mate Pad. It's the 12.2-inch version, Mate Pad Pro, with the paper matte screen. And it's simply a matter of fact of installing a certain application that then allows you to run things like Google Maps. You can get all of that. Now, I did say in that video that Android Auto won't be working. Now, maybe we can get it to work, because I know with some of the other phones like this, the Pura 70 Ultra and some previous versions, like the P60 Pro, there are some workarounds to try to get Android Auto to work on some of the Chinese ROMs and the Chinese phones here. So we may have that, but we'll just have to wait and see if it's going to be possible with the global version. Now, I showed content that is 16:9, so typical YouTube clips with long format, that is, that you're going to get the borders top and bottom, and that's just the way it is. However, the screen is a lot more similar to that of a standard aspect ratio, like say 16:10 with a tablet, whereas with these, you are looking at a square screen that is very poor for the consumption of 16:9 or 16:10 content. Watching any videos or movies on these screens, you're gaining really nothing, and I've shown this in previous videos, that you can hold up a standard phone, and because of the borders and the aspect ratio being so odd, so square, you have those huge borders top and bottom. So if you are using just a standard phone with say a 21:9 aspect ratio, the screen real estate you gain from this is not a lot, but of course from the Mate XT with the Trifold and 10.2 inches, it is a really amazing experience, and I just can't wait to get my hands on them. Now, for a lot of us, this is like a dream device. I want to talk briefly about this. The future, I think, of foldables is finally starting to happen here, because think about it. You've got a device now that can turn into a proper tablet size, and it's more like a foldable tablet that you fold up that can be used as a phone, fits in your pocket. But with video out, you're going to be able to, of course, run, say, desktop modes. And maybe in the future, I hope that Huawei can give us this, a near-link attachable keyboard. Imagine that. A built-in kickstand, or using the case as the kickstand as I showed you. Then you have the wireless keyboard, and maybe with the future release of, say, the Mate XT2, they could include M-Pencil support. So you have full stylus support on a 10.2-inch screen would be fantastic. Maybe even in accessories, official accessories like docks will be really good. So the future is looking great. Now, the downsides to the Mate XT, let's talk about that. So the obvious one is the price, that it's horrendous at the moment. Availability is basically non-existent unless you get really lucky in China, or you've got friends or family in China that somehow could get hold of one for you. The big one, and I did not intentionally avoid speaking about this, is the chipset. So the chipset that's in it is the Kirin, I believe it's the 9010, okay? Even though sometimes when you look under hardware ID, device ID, or you look at the CPU information, the chipset information, it will sometimes show up as a 91T. 7 nanometer process. So it's nothing compared to what we get with the likes of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, the Apple Silicon A18. Performance-wise, it is 3-4 generations behind. And do you actually notice this? Now, if you're a gamer, this is where you probably will, and you're going to notice it. However, I've used, I think it's the same chipset in, of course, the MatePad 12.2 Pro here, MatePad Pro, and the performance is very good. It's well optimized. The UI, you would not really notice any difference unless someone told you that, hey, that doesn't have the latest and greatest chipset in it. Very smooth, great performance, well optimized. This has 12 gigabytes of RAM. The Mate XT has 16, and then storage goes up to 1 terabyte, which is only UFS 3.1, I believe. So it's not, of course, UFS 4. It does not support that because you need the chipset support, which it does not have. So Huawei, yes, are behind in their chipsets. They're getting better, and I'm sure if they can improve their fabrication process, they'll have a better solution. I really do hope that they could partner up with someone like MediaTek and use, say, the Dimensity 9300 Plus. That would be great if they could do that, or release a Dimensity version of the Mate XT. We'll have to see kind of what happens there. So that's an obvious con. The price and the battery life, as I talked about, in the 10.2-inch size is not going to be amazing. If you compared that to a tablet like this, then we're looking at about half the battery life. But you've got to remember that this has over a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, and for such a small pocketable, relatively small pocketable that is foldable phone tablet, having 5,600 milliamp hours, I think, is still really good. So those are the obvious cons there. Then the software workarounds that you're going to have to apply to it and whatnot. So it is looking good for the future, I think, of foldables, because now we're going to go into the era of trifolds. And of course, we'll have other brands that will jump on board like Honor, Oppo, Xiaomi, Samsung. Eventually, I hope, maybe next year, I hope it's going to be the year of just so many releases of trifolds, and it's looking good. Price will eventually come down because it's new tech. It's the first generation. So thanks a lot for watching my follow-up here, and just a little bit more information I wanted to give you all on the fantastic Huawei Mate XT. Do check out, if you haven't, my proper hands-on video with it, which is in the channel in the description of this video too as well. I'll see you in the next one.